But here is where she was the strongest. And I think everybody watching the debate last night who watched the first debate, not everybody, I'm saying people of our ilk, it was the question of abortion, which really was like, oh my God, 6 weeks ago, Joe Biden couldn't answer this question or whatever, it was 2 months ago. And he
doesn't like staying in a race. He doesn't like to talk about abortion. There were reports that his guy, I'm forgetting what's that advisor that got kicked off.
Mike Donnellan.
That Donnellan was reportedly saying that they thought that the Democrats overperformed in the midterms in 2022 because Biden was so moderate on abortion.
Bro.
Psychotic. Like, this was such a breath of fresh air. One, as you know, to see a woman do this is gratifying. I think, I think it plays really well with other women. And then two, just the way she was relentless in how she went after him on this issue. It was incredible to see in comparison to how Biden couldn't do it.
The major contrast, yep.
Yeah.
President Trump, thank you. Lindsay?
I want to turn to the issue of abortion. President Trump, you've often touted that you were able to kill Roe v. Wade. Last year, you said that you were proud to be the most pro-life president in American history. Then last month, you said that your administration...
Pause it for 1 second. I just want to make another comment, too, about the commentators. They're doing very good journalism here, because the standard practice in these type of questions is, President Trump, what's your position regarding abortion? But the fact is that, we have an extensive history of where Donald Trump is on abortion. And it has both been like, yes, he vowed to get rid of Roe v. Wade in 2016. And then he boasted of getting rid of Roe v. Wade in the run-up in 2020, or I should say, over the past couple of years. And then he also has moderated his position as he realized, like, this is a loser. And he has no opportunity to deny any of that because of the way this question is framed.
Roe v. Wade. Last year, you said that you were proud to be the most pro-life president in American history. Then last month, you said that your administration would be great for women and their reproductive rights. In your home state of Florida, you surprised many with regard to your 6-week abortion ban, because you initially had said that it was too short. And you said, quote, I'm going to be voting that we need more than 6 weeks. But then the very next day, you reversed course and said you would vote to support the 6-week ban. Vice President Harris says that women shouldn't trust you on the issue of abortion because you've changed your position so many times. Therefore, why should they trust you?
Well, the reason I'm doing that vote is because the plan is, as you know, the vote is, they have abortion in the 9th month. They even have, and you can look at the governor of West Virginia, the previous governor of West Virginia, not the current governor, who's doing an excellent job.
Virginia.
But the governor before, he said the baby will be born and we will decide what to do with the baby. In other words, we'll execute the baby. And that's why I did that, because that predominates, because they're radical. The Democrats are radical in that. And her vice presidential pick, which I think was a horrible pick, by the way, for our country, because he is really out of it. But her vice presidential pick says abortion in the 9th month is absolutely fine. He also says execution after birth. It's execution, no longer abortion, because the baby is born, is okay. And that's not okay with me, hence the vote. But what I did is something for
Pause it for a second.
52
I think we said this during the debate, but if Tim Walz is actually for executing babies, without the permission of the parents, I am. This is not a guy I can get behind.
Totally.
Look, we do things differently out in Minnesota.
But also notice her face. Like, she was really well prepared, and apparently Trump was doing like policy sessions, not debate prep with
I don't need debate prep.
with Matt Gaetz and Tulsi Gabbard, and oh boy did it show, because she prepared a lot, and including like where the camera angles were and and the bemused face that she was going to do when he acted ridiculous.
Which Joe had no idea about the camera last time, remember?
Joe was going,
oh, no, it was a complete disaster.
She's subtly mocking him, but not too much to be off-putting.
Yeah.
Okay with me, hence the vote. But what I did is something for 52 years. They've been trying to get Roe v. Wade into the states. And through the genius and heart and strength of 6 Supreme Court justices, we were able to do that. Now, I believe in the exceptions for rape, incest, and life of the mother. I believe strongly in it. Ronald Reagan did also. 85% of Republicans do. Exceptions. Very important. But we were able to get it, and now states are voting on it. And for the first time, you're going to see, look, this is an issue that's torn our country apart for 52 years. Every legal scholar, every Democrat, every Republican, liberal, conservative, they all wanted this issue to be brought back to the states where the people could vote. And that's what happened. And now, Ohio, the vote was somewhat liberal. Kansas, the vote was somewhat liberal, much more liberal than people would have thought. But each individual state is voting. It's the vote of the people now. It's not tied up in the federal government. I did a great service in doing it. It took courage to do it. And the Supreme Court had great courage in doing it. And I give tremendous credit to those 6 justices.
There is no state in this country where it is legal to kill a baby after it's born. Madam Vice President, I want to get your response to President Trump.
Well, as I said, you're going to hear a bunch of lies, and that's not...
Hold on. Wait a second. Notice she didn't say territory, though, right? What's going on in U.S. Samoa is Guam, full on baby.
The Northern Mariana Islands.
Come on.
Well, as I said, you're going to hear...
Let's also be clear. He's referring to who I can't even remember.
It was a Ralph Northam,
Northam,
former governor of Virginia.
There are instances where babies are born and they are terminal.
I think the words with this case were deformities and non-viable.
And so the question becomes then, what kind of palliative care do you give for a baby that has been born where it is clearly terminal? They have been born without with half the brain missing, or with problems with the lungs, or whatever it is, and it's clear that they cannot survive. The question is, what kind of palliative care do you give? It is, it's not the same, but it is akin to the idea of someone who has been, in a vegetative state or beyond. Actually, it's actually even more so than that. Because they will not necessarily survive, regardless of what you do.
Maybe as horrible a situation as happens in medicine, and it's not just for the newborn, but also the mother. And so I imagine we don't need Republicans politicizing this sort of.
But that is exactly what they've done. Go ahead.
After it's born. Madam Vice President, I want to get your response to President Trump.
Well, as I said, you're going to hear a bunch of lies, and that's not actually a surprising fact. Let's understand how we got here. Donald Trump hand-selected 3 members of the United States Supreme Court with the intention that they would undo the protections of Roe v. Wade. And they did exactly as he intended. And now in over 20 states, there are Trump abortion bans, which make it criminal for a doctor or nurse to provide health care. In one state, it provides prison for life. Trump abortion bans that make no exception even for rape and incest, which understand what that means. A survivor of a crime of violation to their body does not have the right to make a decision about what happens to their body next. That is immoral. And one does not have to abandon their faith or deeply held beliefs to agree. The government, and Donald Trump certainly, should not be telling a woman what to do with her body. I have talked with women around our country. You want to talk about this is what people wanted? Pregnant women who want to carry a pregnancy to term, suffering from a miscarriage, being denied care in an emergency room because the healthcare providers are afraid they might go to jail, and she's bleeding out in a car in the parking lot. She didn't want that. Her husband didn't want that. A 12 or 13-year-old survivor of incest being forced to carry a pregnancy to term. They don't want that. And I pledge to you, when Congress passes a bill to put back in place the protections of Roe v. Wade. As President of the United States, I will proudly sign it into law. But understand, if Donald Trump were to be reelected, he will sign a national abortion ban. Understand, in his Project 2025, there would be a national abortion, a monitor that would be monitoring your pregnancies, your miscarriages. I think the American people believe that certain freedoms, in particular the freedom to make decisions about one's own body, should not be made by the government.
Thank you, Vice President Harris.
Well, there she goes.
Okay, can we just hear his response a little bit? Because I have a point to make.
Again, it's a lie. I'm not signing a ban, and there's no reason to sign a ban because we've gotten what everybody wanted. Democrats, Republicans, and everybody else, and every legal scholar wanted it to be brought back into the states, and the states are voting. And it may take a little time, but for 52 years, this issue has torn our country apart, and they've wanted it back in the states. And I did something that nobody thought was possible. The states are now voting. What she says is an absolute lie. And as far as the abortion ban, no, I'm not in favor of abortion ban, but it doesn't matter because this issue has now been taken over by the states.
Would you veto a national abortion ban if it came to your desk?
Well, I won't have to because, again, two things. Number one, she said she'll go back to Congress. She'll never get the vote. It's impossible for her to get the vote, especially now with the 50-50 and essentially 50-50 in both Senate and the House. She's not going to get the vote. She can't get the vote. She won't even come close to it. So it's just talk. You know what it reminds me of? When they said they're going to get student loans terminated, and it ended up being a total catastrophe. The student loans, and then I think probably her boss, if you call him a boss, he spends all his time on the beach. But look, her boss went out and said, we'll do it again. We'll do it a different way. And he went out, got rejected again by the Supreme Court. So all these students got taunted with this whole thing about this whole idea and how unfair that would have been. Part of the reason they lost to the millions and millions of people that had to pay off their student loans. They didn't get it for free.
Talking about
but
abortion?
They were saying it's the same way that they talked about that they talk about abortion.
But if I could just get a
But
yes
here's
or
this
no,
part,
because
yeah.
your running mate, J.D. Vance, has said that you would veto it if it did come to your desk.
Well, I didn't discuss it with J.D. In all fairness, J.D. And I don't mind if he has a certain view, but I think he was speaking for me, but I really didn't. Look, we don't have to discuss it because she'd never be able to get it. Just
We
like
don't
she
have to
couldn't get
discuss
student
it.
loans,
That's
they couldn't
really
get
it. I mean, why I want first of all, there's so much there. So he didn't. The campaign was probably telling him, don't give the abortion issue life. Don't come out of this debate with a major headline about abortion because that is your weakest issue. So he tried to dance around it, but the moderator follows up because Vance said that publicly, right? But Trump has been, I think, like, he's not said on camera that he would veto a national abortion ban.
No.
He's never said it. Vance was trying to backfill because they know it's an issue for them in the general election. But Trump got in trouble with abortion activists after he said, because he didn't know what he was talking about, that he would vote for the protections in Florida for abortion, right? He thought he was talking about his own policy position, then he had to walk it back. So he's worried about evangelical turnout, I think, for himself. But I mean, that's what he's trying to do, but he won't say it publicly because he doesn't want to be on camera saying that he would
100%.
veto a national abortion ban. And then he went into that student debt thing, which was so clumsy because he actually could have found a way to smartly hit them on the fact that they weren't able to get student debt cancellation through because the Supreme Court axed it with his justices, but he could have found a way to lie about that. He was extremely clumsy there, and he couldn't stay on message because those were his own Supreme Court justices. So yeah, like they tried to pivot and say that he would veto a national abortion ban, but he's unable to do so. I had one more point, but go ahead, Sam.
Shortly after that clip we played, Trump then tries to turn the table on Harris.
Yeah.
And says, what about abortions in the 8th and 9th month? Now, remember, this guy is talking about that Democrats are in favor of executing children who are born. But she sort of dodged the 8th and 9th month, which, again, I'm a little bit surprised we're not hearing more about that. From a perspective of, wanting Harris to win, I'm happy that we're not hearing more about that. And in that sense, I guess it was judged effective. From the perspective of a woman's right to choose, I do not think that at any stage there should be any hesitance by any Democratic politician to give full-throated support to the right of a woman to have an abortion in the 8th or 9th month if it is in consultation with her doctor. And the number of abortions that take place in the 8th or 9th month is almost immeasurable. Somewhere between 1.5% and down. And the reasons for that are almost 90%, 95% health related or and then 100% access related prior to that. I think that she should have had an answer for that so that she could go on to say, Roe v. Wade was the law of the land for 52 years. We had virtually none of the abortions that you're talking about in that 8th or 9th year. But this is a question of freedom for women. Now, again,
I don't think I agree actually in this context. That's just the one thing I would say is I think you're right. Broadly, Democrats shouldn't run away from it. But clearly the strategy in this debate was don't get into the crazy stuff. Let him say it, move on from it, and then define what you want to say. Because that's a conspiracy theory. So she didn't want to get into a debate about the 8th or 9th month. Don't play on his terms, right? That's why she didn't say it. Broadly, I think you're right about the Democrats need to be better about that. But the other thing is when he says, we've gotten everything we wanted. Yeah, that's the point, dude. Like him continuously referring to leaving it up to the states. She's describing a reality that people are living in right now. And he face planted so badly on that issue because he couldn't address it. He's just saying we're leaving it up to the states. Yeah, we know. And this is the reality that she's making clear to people. So that was a horrible answer by him. And that was fairly early on in the debate. Things just started to fall apart from that point.
Also, I think
20 minutes in.
She walked up to the line by saying, like, you think they want this? You think they want that? She does that. I almost, as like watching it again, I wish she says, like, you don't seem to care, because now she can't really see what we're seeing, which is that split screen with him just going, stone faced. But like, you don't seem to care in that moment with that stone face. Really, I think would have, but it's easy. That's a hindsight type of thing. Hey folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.